Hi everybody, and welcome to another episode of the Reconnection Space. The Reconnection Space is the space that we come to talk about reconnection with ourselves, reconnection in our relationships, or reconnection with the journey that life is taking us on. And you will see that I'm out and about. And I'm out and about because I am here in the lovely home of the wonderful Liz Toogood.
Thank you. Hello.
Hello, good to have you here.
Thank you.
So Liz and I have known each other for about a year now. We met through networking, and I just love the story. Liz has an amazing life story, and we only have 15 minutes, so we're not really going to get time to tell everything about your life story. However, Liz has chosen a reconnection moment that she would like to share with us. But firstly, tell everybody a little bit about who you are and what you're doing now, because it's pretty amazing what you're doing now.
Okay. My name is Liz Toogood. I had the wisdom to marry a man with a really good name.
You did.
Especially when you're in business. I have no children, and I have a tiny, tiny family. So most of my life has been about working. My husband unfortunately died about 20 years ago. We'd been married 25 years. And at that point, there was one starting again, but we're not going to talk about that today.
Okay.
And I have been corporate all my life. So I was lucky. I started work when I was 12, working for my mother, which was very formative. And talk about boundaries. She knew about them. And then I went off to university, came out, really gold-plated management training scheme, so very fortunate. And then I have had a career that's been partly in what was personnel and became HR, and partly in operations management. And managing lots of things and lots of people. So that's been really, really good and very exciting and very interesting, and taken me to lots of interesting places and doing interesting things. But now I'm at the end of my career, or the latter part of my career, and I'm a business mentor. And I call myself a mentor because I walk alongside people in their businesses. I help them to have control of their own businesses. I don't take control away from them, which sometimes some coaches do. And we work from wherever the person wants to start, and we work on from there. So I don't use lots of models and procedures. I mean, I know all that stuff. I've got an MBA and all that stuff. Yeah. And we will do that if the client wants to, but mostly we work at the client's pace, wherever they want to work in their business. So if they come saying, I need more sales, that's where we'll start. Or if they come saying, I need more cash, that's where we'll start, or whatever.
Got it.
Okay.
Brilliant. And you call yourself the critical friend?
I do. I call myself a critical friend because I think when you're working in the way I work with people, it becomes like a friendship. I get to know people really, really well.
Yeah.
I get to know about them and their families and their support groups and the issues that impact on how they do their jobs. Many of the people who come to me run their own businesses, and there's no point trying to run your own business when, out the back there's a real problem because you're having difficulties with a sick child or an elderly relative or whatever it may be. So I'm very much a friend. I'm critical in the sense that I'm important and I'm necessary, but I'm not critical in the way that I criticize. I don't ever do that. Okay. Constructive criticisms are fine. When it leaves me, it's really constructive, and when it gets to you, it's really damaging. So I'm very, very careful about that. What I'm really good at is reading people and getting people, and then putting options on the table they can think about.
Fabulous. So if you haven't heard of Liz before, what I do want to say is, like with all of my guests, they are absolutely worth listening to. And the reason you need to be listening to Liz and what she has to say is Liz has recently been recognised in our hometown of Bedford as one of the inspirational women of Bedford. There was a wonderful exhibition recently at the Higgins Gallery,
yes.
Which looked at women from, you know, the last sort of 100 years, really, because of the 100 years vote and the celebrations that we've been involved in. And Liz, you were chosen to be one of those 60 women that was featured. So there is a reason why you need to be listening to Liz and her experience that she's had in terms of business, in terms of corporate, and in terms of running your business. But we want to talk a little bit today about that reconnection moment that led you from that very corporate life you had and the life you were leading to the point where you are now, where you are looking after other people's businesses and helping them, because it was quite a significant piece of your life.
Yes, exactly. When I was, I don't know, in my late 30s, I just got a new job, and I was the first personnel director ever for a Sketchy Group.
Wow.
And I was interviewing this guy for a very senior job, and I felt like I'd had a stroke down one side. Long and the short of it is, it turned out that I had multiple sclerosis, and for many years the disease and I lived happily alongside each other.
Okay.
You know, I respected it and it respected me. And then something happened in my career which meant I was working a lot harder and going a bit mad and doing too many miles and all that stuff. And the disease came out and hit me. And I was very, very unwell and I had to stop working. Now, when you've got the sort of background that I described earlier, you know, not to work means who am I?
Yeah, absolutely.
And it was really difficult. And I was really very, very fortunate because life led me to return to Bedford, which is where I'd lived for many years before. And out of that, I met some really, really good people who helped me with symptom control. So instead of having legs that don't work, I have legs that work in the ways I need them to work.
Right.
Although I normally travel in a wheelchair. I had people who helped me get my bladder under control. I'm just going to give this as an example of how bad life was.
Yeah.
If you can imagine being on the motorway and having to stop at 3 consecutive services to go to the loo, because you're desperate and you can't control your bladder, so you don't know if you're actually going to get there. I mean, imagine as a woman, there's nothing worse, is there?
No.
Now I have amazing mechanisms and some wonderful medication, which means that I can go for 5 or 6 hours without going to the loo.
That's longer than me.
Yeah, exactly. And it's a miracle. So what actually happened, and the reconnection moment, is about suddenly realizing that actually I'd got life under control again.
Right.
And what was I going to do with myself? And I thought, I really don't know.
Yeah.
But because I'd worked for myself previously, I'd had a business, but I had a business with people in it, you know, there were 6 of us. And so it was a different thing. Suddenly, you know, here I am towards the end of my career. What can I do? And I realized that I had been mentoring people. I'd mentored in the Prince's Trust.
Oh, right, yeah.
I'd mentored priests and ministers within the church.
Wow.
I'd mentored lots of people. Would say, would you see my children? And of course you only see their children if their children want to see you. And do their children want to come and see this woman who's older than their mother? And actually the fact that I'm older than their mother is a real plus point.
I was going to say, I think sometimes I think that's a good thing.
It is, especially when they come in and they say, I don't know if I could tell you this. And you say, why? And they say, well, you might be shocked. And I say, look, you know, I'm too old and I've spent a lot of years in road transport, and it's very unlikely that anything you're going to say is going to shock me. And I've not been shocked yet. But they do talk about amazing things. So I was mentoring with all sorts of different people.
Yeah.
And I thought, why don't I actually start to use some of the business skills and business experience as well? So I very tentatively started to think about putting myself out there. And that was when I dreamt up the term Elizabeth Toogood critical friend, because everybody's a coach.
Yes.
And there's nothing wrong with that at all, but we are all very different. And the important thing, I think, with all clients, and I know you feel like this too, is you've got to work with the right people. You've got to work with somebody who understands you, who gets you, and who will work in the way you want to work.
Yeah.
And so I decided would be a way to go. So I started to put word out on the street, and I put out the odd advert and things. And funnily enough, what started to happen was coaches started to come to me. So I had 2 or 3 coaches who came to talk about their businesses. And that was interesting, and we did quite a bit of work. But in the case that I'm talking about, they were all men. And it's interesting, and I know Ali again and I agree on this, interesting, and I will be sexist about this. Men very often we all know this, they want the quick fix. You talk to them about an issue and they talk to you about solutions. They don't talk to you about how you get there, or why you should get there, or why it might be right, or are there lots of other solutions. They don't necessarily talk about the one that feels best for you, feels most comfortable. So I worked with these 3 guys, and it was good, and they would go away, and then they would come back 6 months later. In fact, one's just recently come back after 5 years.
Okay.
So we start again, and he's surprised that we start again.
Yeah.
But anyway, and then I started to realise that I was working a lot with women. And this was what was so wonderful for me, because I realised that so many women do not have confidence in themselves, do not have belief in themselves. They talk to their nearest and dearest, who very often, because they have a different risk profile, have a very different approach to, are we going to manage to pay the mortgage here? They don't necessarily understand the business. They don't necessarily want the business to be a success. There are lots that do, lots and lots and lots that do. Yeah. But they don't know how to help the ones that do very often.
I think I find that there's a lot of women who see that their business could be a success, but what happens if it becomes a success?
Yes.
Because as you said at the beginning, we're defined by the role that we do, and being successful in business redefines you.
It does indeed.
And sometimes that's scary. Change is scary.
It can be very, very scary. Very scary. And I normally start with, particularly with women, but with any client, by saying, what do you want this business to do for you? You know, are you starting this business because you want something to occupy you? Are you starting this business because you want to earn a couple of £1,000 a month? Or £500 a month, or £10,000 a month, or whatever the figure might be? Are you starting this business because you want something to pass on to your children? Are you starting this business because you want to sell it in 10 years' time? Because depending on why you're doing it, depends on how you do it. And you're right, the people around you. I think about it very often as a jigsaw puzzle, where when we change, we throw it all up in the air, and it comes down, and it's not necessarily the same picture that we're trying to make.
No, not absolutely. And a lot of times as women, we know the business we're going into, but we haven't thought about that end goal.
No.
It's almost like, I'm going to set this business up. This is what I'm going to do. Where is that leading me? Oh, I'm not really sure.
Exactly. And almost that doesn't matter. Almost the first hurdle of it always is to prove I can do it.
I think so.
And then when you've got over the hurdle that you can do it, and people will pay you to do it, the next hurdle I often find is, are people paying you enough to do it? The times I talk to women about, you're charging how much? And how much do you pay so-and-so? And who do you compare yourself with? And that's not enough, is it? And getting them to think about charging more and how they charge more. So that's often the second hurdle. The third hurdle is often, I think I need premises now.
Scaling up,
I'm scaling up because I'm taking people on. I'm going to take another risk. I'm going to do that, but I'm also going to do this.
or I can't do that because I need to take somebody on, but I've never thought about that, so I've just said no.
Exactly.
I don't do that.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And there's no halfway house.
Mm-hmm.
You know, and of course these days with technology, there are so many halfway houses. So that's great. And then we go on from there, and it gets bigger and bigger and bigger. And so it's hugely enjoyable. And so Reconnection for me has all been about, I can do this. I can work with people. I can work in my sitting room. I'm no longer on the corporate ladder where I have to prove myself by getting the next promotion, getting onto the next rung, getting the bigger salary or the bigger car or whatever it might be. All the things that in the past in a corporate life were part of my life.
Well, it feels in the corporate life as though you're always judged by someone else's standards, and I guess now you're in that space of you're judged almost by your own standards, and that is reflected then in your clients.
Yes.
Are your clients pleased? Do they get the results that they want? But it is a wonderfully liberating feeling when you're in your own business to know that, and quite scary as well, because you've got to keep, as I say, keep your bar high. But you are judging yourself by your own standards, and it isn't about the review and the tick in the box. It's all about, are you doing what needs to be done?
And I think one of the things that I'm very neurotic about actually is confidentiality. So people come to me, and I don't even say they'll come to me. If they tell someone else, that's fine.
Yeah.
But I won't. Once they put it in the public domain, that's different. But I mean, I've had a client park down the road because she had a distinctive car, and she didn't want anybody who happened to live around me to see the car and say, oh, so-and-so's going to Liz. If that's how she wants to be, that's fine by me.
Yeah.
Absolutely fine. But it's all about also me. You're right. I assess my work on the basis of myself. And of course I have a supervisor, and I talk to her about it.
Yeah.
But I also assess my work on whether some of my clients want to talk about it. So what is lovely is when I'm in a room where there might be a client who will suddenly start saying, you should go to Liz, this is why, this is what she's done for me. And it's really interesting to hear clients telling other people what you've done for them, because it's not what I would have thought I'd done.
That's wonderful, isn't it? I love that. Yeah. You
Very
see it from your perspective, and you think, oh, well, that went well, you know. Exactly. And then you hear them give their version of what's happened, and it's really different. So you obviously love this new world.
I love this
that you're in.
Yes.
And it has allowed you to, you said at the beginning of the interview, there was a time when you respected the disease and the disease respected you. And I feel, having got to know you, that you're in that space again, that it's very much about how you're living your life in a way that you want to live and you're able to live, and there is that cohesion again.
Yes, I think that's very true. I think you're right. I had a really nasty scare. And I thought it was going to be permanent. And then I realised I didn't want it to be permanent. And my subconscious, because let's face it, that's what we're all driven by, my subconscious decided she wasn't finished with me yet. So yes, I do feel that I'm back in that space again. I have to be careful. I have to be careful not to overwork. I have to be very conscious of working in a different way.
Yeah.
Years ago, hop on a plane or hop on a train, hop in a car, drive 200 miles or wherever or whatever, do whatever you had to do, and then turn around and come home.
Yeah.
And then tomorrow you do it all again. So you're sort of partly hanging on to this foolish idea of 9 to 5 that everybody has when people are working, but you're partly doing everything that has to be done because you're so important and so critical that you have to do it. Now, I'm not saying that I'm not important and I'm not critical now. I am, of course I am.
Of course you are.
But I don't have to work like that anymore.
No.
So, for example, if I feel tired, then I might think to myself, I don't have to start until 10 this morning, so I'll stay in bed till 7 instead of get up at 6. What's wrong with that? if I'm rushing off somewhere because I need to be there, but I'm run out of time and I can't do all the things I want to do, does it matter if the dishes stay in the sink? No. So, except that nobody will do them because I don't live with anybody, so nobody will do them and they'll still be there when I get back. But you know, I can pace myself now.
Yeah.
And I am very clear about it has to be an exception for me to start work before 9:30. I'm very clear that I see clients Tuesdays, Wednesdays and Thursdays, and it has to be something critically important before I will see them on a Monday or a Friday. I don't work after 7:30 at night. So things which, when I was much younger and I was starting other businesses and doing other things, you wouldn't have done because you would have thought the world will look at me and think I'm a wimp.
Yeah.
I'm now at a stage where I'm not a wimp. I know I'm not a wimp. And I can live my life the way I want to without the world dictating it.
And I think that's a lovely way to kind of sum up the interview. So it's been great to hear about your reconnection moment. And I know there's so much more that Liz could tell us about her life, so much we haven't spoken about. So I'm sure we'll have her back again on the reconnection space. And you did mention it, but just for the viewers, just sum up again for us. To you, reconnection means what? Reconnection means doing things differently. Doing things differently. So I'm still working and I'm enjoying life, but I'm doing it in a very different way to the way I did it before. We love that, and I'm so pleased. Thank you for giving me the chance to talk about it. You're very welcome. So we hope you've enjoyed this latest episode of the Reconnection Space. Just remind you, clicking like is fabulous. Clicking subscribe, that means you will never miss an episode of the Reconnection Space, and you can see that we've had some amazing guests, and I will be posting more videos as well about the Reconnection program and of course the book that's coming out, Reconnect Your Life. So you don't want to miss any of that, so make sure you click subscribe and help us to spread the word. I want to thank you again, Liz, for being part of the show. And we're going to post where you can find Liz, the critical friend, Liz Toogood, what an amazing name. And we hope that you have a happy, healthy and mindful week, and we'll see you again on the next episode of the Reconnection Space. Bye-bye.